Content warnings for this episode may include fantasy violence, visions, memory loss, heights and falling, ghosts, and romance.
One year, 214 days, 8 hours and 2 minutes before the Chosen One dies. Lumièra joins Strike Team Phoenix. This is a violence-enabled zone. Yes. We're opening hard. We're opening with that.
Fuck? Okay. Okay, right to the gut immediately. Cool. All right.
So, Auditorium C is teeming with activity. The stage here is freshly polished. There's a brand new layer of that nice pine wax against the wooden slats. The seats are draped in fresh flowers and laurels. These floating lights are bumping against a vastly steepled ceiling, casting a phosphorescent glow over the gathered attendees as though you were at the bottom of an oceanic forest. Lumièra, you stand on the stage alongside the 24 members of your graduating class. As of today, you will no longer be a disciple, but an agent of trans. You will choose a path that you will walk at the Syndicate, whether that is as a healer at Therapeutics and Recovery, an architect at Comm Ops, an administrator at Mortal Resources, or, in your case, the role you've been eyeing for years now, a field agent. So I want to ask you, where do we find you? What do you look like? And what's coursing through your mind as you stand on the eve of your becoming?
Lumièra, the look on her face is nothing other than just puffed out pride. She is so proud of herself, how hard she worked. This is exactly what she has had her tunnel vision on since she was a very young child, since she first stepped foot at trans. This was who she wanted to be. So she is not as tall as we've seen her. She's she's about 5 or so inches shorter. She hit a growth spurt weirdly in this time. So
like a late bloomer. Okay.
Yeah, very much a late bloomer. So she's a little bit on the smaller side. Her hair is all brown. It's all the dark shade of brown. There's no wisps of white or anything that's in it yet. She's bright-eyed and bushy-tailed as they come, almost jittery. She's trying her hardest to stay still and stay stoic. Her stance mimics Artemis's in a sense of how she's portraying herself as she wants to be. But her left foot, that toe, just can't stop tapping. Like, she tries to keep it. She's got her boots on, and when it makes contact with the ground, it clacks, and she's trying not to do that. So she's trying to like lift it up and like balance it off of her heel, but she can't stop the jitteriness.
I love that. Yeah, so you're trying to affect like calm, confident, but inside you're like a bunch of nerves. You're really excited. Your foot is tapping. You're bright-eyed. You're bushy-tailed. You are young, and your future is so close to your grasp. It's right there. And in the audience before you, you see a lot of friendly, familiar faces from every department at Trans represented here. All of them look equally excited as you to see who the new members of their ranks are going to end up being. And at the very front of the audience, in that front row, you see Sing and Sayer, but it's Sing's eyes that grab your attention. Those bright pink eyes, so full of excitement and joy and pride for you. She and her brother are still in the neutral tones of a disciple's uniform, but she is here to see you graduate a year before her, as supportive as always and always in your corner. So what happens when you... Yeah, go ahead.
I was going to say, Lumièra can't break it. Then she like kind of reaches up and gives them both a quick wave and puts her hand back down.
Yeah, Sing quickly gives you like an enthusiastic wave back, one hand, and then the second one coming up and like just flapping them in the air, like so excited for you. And she lets out a little whoop that causes a couple of the people in the row behind her to kind of like look and tisk a bit. But then they realize it's the chosen one and they stop tisking. And they mostly just like awestruck. And
Lumièra's
Sing, yeah.
She's trying to like keep her face from cracking in a smile so wide. She's just all the restraint she has.
And Sing notices that, and she actually shuffles some signs that she's prepared kind of in her lap. She's like shuffling through them. You see Sayir next to her also with some signs. You're not sure if he made them or if he's borrowing the ones that Sing made. And she like lifts one up and it says, "You got this," with lots of little pink sparkly hearts all around. Like she's your biggest cheerleader. Again, blocking the view of the second row, but they don't dare tisk at the chosen one. And I think you also notice, in addition to Sing, of course, the Hands of Fate. They are standing on the other side of this auditorium, kind of on the stage with you, but on the other side of it. There's Wu Yin, of course, big and booming and long-haired and muscular and charismatic, and he's kind of waving and like acknowledging new people as they come into the room. There's also Lucy, whose tail is swishing in this languid circle. Her expression is inquisitive, but also deeply unreadable. And then finally, of course, there is Artemis. Quiet, strong, understated, but elegant, and their sharp eyes are taking in every detail of this scene. And those eyes actually eventually land on you. That golden gaze piercing through you, not with intellectual rigor in this case, but with a sense of, just the tiniest hint of pride as well, and support for you, and a deep well of affection that is kept calmly underneath that mask of looking stoic.
Lumièra, I think it's a moment where she's watching and out of her peripheral feels Artemis's gaze on her before she actually turns over and looks at them. And when she sees that, just ever so briefly, that glance of pride and support from her, she stands up just as straight and focused forward, also feeling that pride swell even more.
I think on that emotion, a memory also rises, swimming up in front of your gaze. It's a memory of Artemis. Not just Artemis, but also Wu Yin and Lucy. Not of their faces, not of their gazes, but of their backs, as they are walking forward through and guiding you along the twisting, iridescent corridors of Trans. And you are not 18 or 16 or 14 here. You are 8 years old. You have freshly arrived at the Syndicate after, I suppose, losing your home? But again, even in this memory, the details of what happened to you are so fuzzy. All you remember really is darkness. And then you hear some muffled voices from these three tall, imposing, not just adults, not gods, something beyond gods. These saints are speaking rapidly back and forth. They're throwing glances over their shoulders at you, and their words are all muffled by time and trauma and memory and recollection. But it is Artemis, the saint with the shaved head, with the laurel leaves, with the tattoos of worlds on the back of her head, with those broad shoulders, with that upright back, who eventually pauses and turns to look at you as an 8-year-old. And then she extends a hand for you to hold, to guide you through this terrifying and uncertain time.
Lumièra looks back up at Artemis, and her eyes are wild and tired and scared, but for some reason, she knows she can trust this person. So she kind of reaches up and wraps her hand around Artemis's index finger and follows.
And the look on Artemis's face is soft and warm. The hard edges of her eyes, like, bleeding into her skin as she offers you an expression that she rarely offers anyone, even the other children at Trans. Is an expression of trust as well, of reassurance. And Artemis kind of pulls you gently along, but firmly, and guides you down this hallway toward your next destination, toward the next step in your journey. And I think as this memory peels back from your consciousness, you see Artemis on the other side of that auditorium now, guiding you towards your new life as an agent. And it is that same hand on the hand who reaches out now in the direction of the audience, the same hand that you wrapped your fingers around the index finger of so many years ago, who quells the murmuring welling up from the attendees as the last late stragglers come in and the doors to the auditorium close and people settle down. And Artemis lowers her hand and everyone stops talking and all eyes fix onto the stage with this kind of like welling sense of excitement. And it is the patron saint of heroes who steps forward, as is his right, as is his role, Wu Yin, and he addresses the crowd and he says, "Oh, people of Trans, hello, and thank you so much for coming to the 49,427th, is that right? That is right, graduation ceremony here at the Syndicate. Give yourselves a hand. Give yourselves a hand for showing up and attending and celebrating this incredible graduating class." And everyone erupts into applause. People erupt into cheering to show support, this big well of community. And Wu in his all smiles and pectoral muscles as he addresses the audience once more. They quiet down and he says, "Now, as you all know, these 24 disciples are going to be stepping into their new selves and their new roles at the Syndicate. No, in our family. And as is tradition, these disciples are going to go in reverse order of age. So the first to receive their assignment, drum roll, please, everyone." And people start tapping on their thighs excitedly, especially those who are part of Ween's fan club. They're the first to lead the drum roll. And then Ween makes a gesture with his fist and the drum roll stops. Siraj Bashar. And an older woman who's part of your graduating class, she steps forward. She's perhaps in her 70s. She's got this deep brown skin, these laugh wrinkles around her eyes and her mouth, and this gray hair pulled into a bun. And she moves with a kind of sprightliness that doesn't belie her age to the center of the auditorium where Wu Yin turns to greet her. He gives a big smile and he twists his hand and Wu Yin's personal oracle glimmers into existence. And this oracle is special. It is the color of jade, just like the blade of his guandao, and seems to be gem-like instead of just an iridescent glowing orb. All right, let's see. Siraj Bashar, let's see your files. Ah, yes. You have aspirations of being a member of community operations. Is this still true? Is that still the journey you'd like to take on? And he takes a kind of serious tone now, undercutting his cheerful demeanor to kind of elevate the dramatic element of this scene. And Siraj looks up with those gray eyes and gives a stern, curt, confident nod. Yes. Wonderful. Then, in that case, please gaze into the oracle and receive your assignment. And Siraj does. She turns toward the jade depths of this swirling orb and looks and focuses very seriously, and you just know she's focusing on her dreams. She's focusing on her goals. She's focusing on her future at the Syndicate. And then there's a chiming noise, like a pure wooden baton hitting the side of a prayer bowl, emanating outward from Wu Yin's oracle, and the oracle speaks. Uplink established between Siraj Bashar and Prime Oracle. Siraj Bashar, your departmental assignment is Community Operations. Your division leader is Kenzo Hirose. And there is just a huge plume of applause, of cheering, and Siraj Bashar, a big smile breaks across her face, right, wrinkling the edges of her expression, and she steps off the stage where we see a muscular, a well-tanned centaur man approaching Siraj with a big smile on his face. He's got the like a farmer's tan, you know what I mean? But he's kind of dressed up for the ceremony, and he holds his arms out and welcomes his new team member into the fold. And they retreat to the back of the auditorium where other members of community operations are waiting with big smiles, and they're cheering the loudest. And Lumièra, it's like this that the ceremony continues. Wu Yin keeps reading out names, right? Kind of going in this reverse descending order of age. So you're kind of going to be one of the last people to be assigned because you're quite young in this graduating class. And next to you is someone who is your closest peer in age for your class, Cove. She is a year, maybe 2 older than you, so she's gonna be called up first. And you can feel her nervousness kind of emanating off of her. She's got this like dark, short, black hair, those piercing emerald eyes, and she's wearing the neutral tones of a disciple, yes, but she's chosen her outfit to look like armor, even at this stage of her life. She's like several years younger from when we saw her in the campaign up until this point, but she's still got the becomings of like a butch knight, like written in the curve of her jaw and how she holds herself, the ramrod straightness of her posture. So she's agitated, she's nervous. She, like you, is kind of not tapping her foot, but jiggling her right leg, and it's kind of shaking the slats of the stage next to you because she's so big and muscular. So how are you responding, if you respond at all, to Cove's nervousness?
You are shaking the entire section, Cove. We got this. We did it. Relax.
Okay. Yeah, I know. We got this. We deserve this. We got this.
We do.
You know, your toe is tapping too.
I'm not shaking the entire section of seats.
Sorry. Leg day was yesterday, so I'm still kind of pumped from that. Okay, fine. I'll try to stop shaking.
It's
but
okay.
God's fate. I'm just so excited. I mean, I know I want to be a field agent. That's definitely what I want to be, what I want to do, but I mean, who are we gonna get assigned under? You think we're gonna work under the same hand? Maybe even the same team?
Lumièra smiles, but it doesn't quite meet her eyes. She kind of wants to, she doesn't let it be known, but internally she wants to be assigned to Artemis. She wants to be under Artemis, but she'll be happy with whatever she gets. So she just smiles and goes, that can always be a possibility.
Yeah, I mean, I'm hoping for it. I've enjoyed training with you, and I hope we'll get to continue training together, you know, moving into the future of our career. Which hand would you want to serve under? Because, I mean, Wu Yin is the obvious choice, right? Look at him. He's just so heroic, and I feel like I could learn so much from him. But Lucy, oh my God, Lucy, there's something about her, something dangerous. I feel like she could really unlock my potential. And Artemis, I guess the patron saint of mortals would be fine, but she's not exactly the most flashy instructor, you know what I mean?
Sometimes flashiness is not all that's important.
Yeah?
Knowing what you're able to do, your limits and what you can't, and adaptability, that's what's important. But fate only knows at this point where we will be assigned.
That's right. Fate and her prime oracle.
I'll be grateful for wherever. I know what I want to do. I don't like things getting in the way of that.
It's just like you, Lumièra, so driven. But I do have to ask you, who would you want to work? And then Wu Yin's voice cuts in. He's finally reached your age group, and he calls out, Cove! Step forward, please! Kind of sparing you from having to answer her question. And she straightens up once more, like puffs her chest out even more to an exaggerated point, and kind of walks rather stiffly over to Wu Yin with really heavy treads.
On her way out just a little bit, like you got this.
And you can basically sense like the nervous sweat coming off of her underneath her armor and her pauldrons. But then she walks up to the patron saint of heroes and stops, ramrod straight in front of him. With one last look back at you, and then faces Wu Yin with those piercing emerald eyes. And Wu Yin says, Cove! You have aspirations of being a field agent, according to your file right here. Is that still the journey you'd like to take on? Yes. Yes, hand. Yes, it is. She definitely pitches her voice a little lower when responding to Wu Yin, and Wu Yin smiles. Then gaze into the oracle and receive your assignment. And pushes his hand forward with the oracle levitating on top of it, and Cove looks. They turn their emerald green eyes into the swirling jade depths of Wu Yin's oracle, and they focus. And they focus. And they focus. And finally, the oracle glows, it beeps, and it speaks. Uplink established between Cove and Prime Oracle. Your departmental assignment is field operations. Your strike team is Strike Team Phoenix. Your division leader is Hand Lucy. And you see Cove kind of look shocked with excitement and jubilation and pride, and she does like a little fist pump, right, with her left fist, like, yes. And then she quickly clears her throat, right, jittering with excitement. She strides past Hand Wu Yin after shaking his hand very gratefully, and approaches Lucy, and extends her hand stiffly and confidently and excitedly over to Lucy, who extends her wrist in a kind of languid, confident fashion, and they shake. And Lucy says something to Cove that no one can hear, but the two of them. And Cove kind of walks off stage to where there are two current members of Strike Team Phoenix waiting for her just in the wings, but from your angle, you can't quite see them yet. And then you hear Wu Yin say, Lumièra, step forward, please.
Lumièra stands up straight, stiff as a board, and still has her cloak a little bit. It's not as adorned as when we see her in the beginning of the campaign, but it's just plain black, white, gold, just a little bit. And she stands walking over, slipping her pocket watch into her left pocket. You kind of see the chain from it hanging, and walks over, looks and like nods to Hand Wu Yin, just excited and expectant.
Lumièra, you have aspirations of being a field agent. Is that still the journey you'd like to take on?
Yes.
That answer was immediate. It just fell out of you instantly. And he smiles. That's what I like to hear. Then gaze into the oracle and receive your assignment.
And just as soon as he says it, her eyes are directly in it.
You stare at Wu Yin's oracle, the swirling jade color, the glowing green depths, and at first, nothing really seems to happen. You're just kind of looking at a glowing green orb, but then you get not quite a dizzying feeling, but almost like the feeling you get when you're starting to fall asleep into a dream, and it's kind of soft and it just takes over without you even realizing it. And welling up from the depths of your subconscious is a dream, vision, memory. A half-formed memory that up until this point, Lumièra, you had forgotten was within you this entire time. It's not of the surface of the oracle, but the surface of something else. Something glimmering and reflective and beautiful. Azure, blue, cerulean. The surface of a pond. A sacred pond. And you see your own face reflected in it. 8 years old, maybe even younger, with a bright, excited expression on your face, looking forward to the next path of your journey. And then you see the green color swirl in again, and there's a beeping noise, and you're back in the auditorium, and Wu Yin's oracle is saying, Uplink established between Lumièra and Prime Oracle. Your departmental assignment is field operations. Your strike team is... And there is a momentary pause. there is a lapse in time here, longer than every single other person who got assigned, before the Oracle completes their sentence. Your strike team is Strike Team Phoenix. Your division leader is Hand Lucy.
Thank you, Hand. And Lumièra will turn sharply and head towards Lucy with one lasting gaze on Artemis as she walks by past her to Lucy.
Something flickers in Artemis's gaze. It flickered when the Oracle assigned you to one of Lucy's teams, and you see it flickering again now as your eyes land on her, but that flicker is gone by the time you have enough wherewithal to register her expression. She just nods at you, and as you approach Lucy, Lucy extends again like a languid hand and shakes your hand with a firm and almost intimate grip. And she says to you with a unreadable smile curling across her magenta lips, "Welcome to the team. Just remember, excellence is the rule, not the exception here."
I will have no problem meeting those expectations and then some, Hand.
Perfect. I have a feeling we'll get along just fine. Go on. Strike Team Phoenix is waiting.
And with one last nod, Lumièra will turn once again sharply on her heel and walk over towards her new teammates.
As you go, you hear Lucy speak, not toward you, but actually toward Artemis. Though by the time you hear the words fall from Lucy's lips, you are too far away to hear Artemis's response, if she even has one. And Lucy says, "The board has been set. The pieces are in place." And that's when you approach Strike Team Phoenix. And you see, in addition to Cove, two strangers, two people you don't really recognize. You've perhaps seen them around the Syndicate, but you've never had like a full conversation with either of them. One of them is a person who's about 10 or 15 years older than you. They are very well groomed. They look like they've got their shit together. They are an elegant person. They are dark skinned. They have short, curly black hair and a single unicorn-like horn protruding from their forehead, and they have these piercing hazel eyes and thin gold-rimmed glasses, and they wear these beautifully embroidered robes with all kinds of prayer papers and talismans dangling from the sleeves and from their waist and outfit. The other person is much closer to you in age, probably closer to Cove's age than you, but joined the Syndicate earlier, so graduated earlier. Z is a black person with strikingly handsome features, okay? Z looks like Z walked out of someone's dream about a fairy tale prince. Maybe your dream. And Z has these short, kind of bleached blonde twists in terms of their hairstyle. And the first person steps forward with a curt nod, looks you up and down, and extends a hand toward you. "Welcome to the team. My name is Naeem Zaran. This is Amaru. I'm glad to have you aboard."
Thank you for your hospitality, Naeem. I'm Lumièra. And she will also extend her hand and shake before turning to Amaru. Lumièra.
"Amaru, it's nice to meet you." And he also holds out a hand.
Lumièra will look at it for a second before looking back at him and will reach her hand out to shake. Probably for a bit too long.
Like a touch longer, yeah. The two of you shake hands like just a little bit longer than everyone else. And Naeem's eyes, those hazel eyes, flick between the two of you, and a small smile curls across their lips, and they say, "Well, we'll have plenty of time to get to know each other very well very soon. And in fact, one of those times is happening imminently, right after the ceremony. I hope you and Cove are ready for your very first simulation training."
Let's go.
And that smile widens across Naeem's face. And on that smile, we cut to one of the Syndicate's many training halls, mere minutes after the graduation ceremony concludes, right? So you don't basically even get a breath to yourself to think or to process all of this. Bam, it's right into the routine. There is, in this hall, the smell of clean sweat. You see the latest exercise equipment lining the walls. You see a high-tech hydration station with all kinds of knobs and dials. And in the center, a huge simulation arena, which is operated by a training oracle. Basically, it populates interactable illusions that allow you to scale all kinds of mission conditions and train toward those specifications. And as you, Naeem, Amaru, and Cove enter this space, Cove lets out a low whistle because this is the first proper agent training hall you've been in. This entire time, you've only been allowed to go into disciple training halls, so this is much bigger with a lot more furnished equipment than you're used to. Whoa. And Ko kind of like elbows you in the ribs, like, look at this.
I think Lumièra is just eyes wide like saucers, kind of also in awe, just being like, holy shit, Ko, we're actually here.
I know we're actually here, and I know I said it, but I can't believe it actually happened. We're on the same strike team. Isn't that awesome?
That is really cool.
And Hand Lucy, you know, I was kind of expecting Wuyan for myself, but they say that the Prime Oracle knows what you really need, but I totally pegged you for a Lucy girl.
Now that I'm here, I'm liking this.
Yeah, I mean, it feels
a good
right.
fit.
Yes, it is. This just feels like we're on the path that fate laid out for us.
I mean, it's from the oracles.
Well, yeah, it is her will. So I guess we're literally on the path that she laid out for us.
Quite literally. But still, fate does not hand you challenges that you cannot rise to.
Very aptly said, Lumièra. And it's Naeem who is stepping up to the training oracle and dialing in some mission parameters, but kind of throws a glance over their look of pride, and they look impressed by what you said, and a smile curls at the side of their mouth. And speaking of which, the reason why all of you are here, Hand Lucy has assigned Strike Team Phoenix to undergo as our first test of teamwork and cooperation this simulation training. As newly graduated disciples, now as full-fledged agents, this will be your first of many such trainings. In simulation tests, there is no risk of life, so you don't have to worry about that. But you may be injured, and these injuries are very real. Another important thing to know, this isn't about showing off. And you notice Naeem kind of lingers on Amaru, who is leaning against a training dummy and kind of cockily like dismisses that look.
Trying so hard not to look at him and keeping my eyes on Naeem the whole time.
But Amaru is literally like the golden boy, so it's kind of hard, right? But you're like keeping your eyes strict on Naeem. And Naeem continues, not about showing off, it's about learning to be in rhythm with each other and tackling a mission with intelligence and insight and wisdom alongside force and courage. Those two things are very important, yes, but you'll often find when you're out on mission across the multiverse that there's more to what's going on around you than meets the eye. So keep that in mind here. Any questions?
When do we start?
Now. And Naeem dials in a final set of numbers and symbols and kind of presses the training oracle, which rises into the air and starts to swirl. And as light starts to gather around it and objects and terrain starts populating all around you, almost like you're being shifted to a different plane, even though it's all an illusion, Naeem says, remember, you're fighting to protect each other, to work together, to subdue a threat, not to kill here. The planes we travel to are sacred in their own ways, even when there's danger. So keep that in mind. If we kill anything unduly, then that is a mission failure. And as the assets start to populate, Sam, I would like you to roll me 1d8.
Me having just my D6s out. Yeah, let me grab a D8 really quick. Good thing my dice is right here. 1.
Okay, roll me that again.
7.
Okay, now roll me a d6.
1 again.
Okay, excellent. So populating in the terrain all around you are trees. The trees surge up. It's densely wooded here. All kinds of trees. Sycamores, pines, oaks, maples, cedars. And it's not just trees, it's a sloped terrain. There's a moment where all you kind of have to like gather your balance again as the earth rises to like an immense degree and then kind of tapers out. And as you regather yourself, you realize that all of you have risen up into the air, up, 10 feet, 20, 30, 40, 50. It feels like over 100 feet up into the air, though that doesn't even get close to reaching the vaulted ceiling of this massive simulation hall. And you realize that you have become populated into the forested edge of like a mountainside cliff face. So there's tons of woods here, tons of rocks, boulders, grass, trees, and also right behind you is just like a straight drop to the bottom of, and you hear illusory tides beating against like a stormy, jagged, stony bottom, right? So there's like a chasm at your back with tons of blustery winds and howling breezes moving through the leaves of this wooded expanse. And not just that, there are ghosts. Howling and screaming and shrieking. You see translucent entities flitting through these woods. They look desperate. They look angry. They look hungry. They look shocked. They look fearful. But whatever they are, they seem violent and they seem to be fixated on your party of 4. They swarm through the woods and begin to attack you with your backs to the edge of the cliff. So how are you responding to this threat?
I think Lumièra is doing a calculated watch of each of her opponents. They're all in front of her or coming at her. So I think she's counting how many are on and trying to find like how as a team they can split up equally to still have support while also attacking at the same time, trying to find any weaknesses in the surrounding area that could be exploited.
Ooh, I like that a lot. I think your eyes flit around, and what locks onto you and what you lock onto is the expression on these ghosts, is the emotion behind them. They appear desperate and lonely. So there's more than just they're like raving and they're going after you, they're tearing into you just because they're ghosts and that's what they do. There's something driving it. And your eyes fall on tombstones hidden in the bases of the trees. And you realize that these trees aren't just trees. Each one of them is a grave. And there's something about the graves that look like they've been disturbed, right? You see earth that's been hacked up. You see bark stripped away from some trees. Something about these ghosts' final resting place has been jeopardized, right? But as this realization sinks into you, as you're seeing more than what meets the eye, as Naeem has suggested, Amaru and Cove are both rushing forward instantly, right? They're bracing themselves as the frontline fighters to take the brunt of the attack, so you and Naeem can figure out, right, like a greater plan here behind them. And you see Cove pull out her, and at this point you've seen this a lot, a massive obsidian greatsword, right, from behind her back, and she cleaves it across and sends like a dark slash, like a blade, a sonic boom, poof, toward the advancing ghosts, and it disperses them, right? It slams into the trees and shakes the trunks, causing leaves to fall, and like a huge howling gale to whistle through the leaves. And Amaru next to her jumps up into the air and raises their right hand, and you see exploding into existence in a beam of light, a golden lance. And he punches into the ground and causes a crater to erupt, and a golden shockwave of pure divine energy. And you see these tattoos. these lines, these golden lines, begin to light up on Amaru's skin that was not visible when he wasn't channeling his magic. And the ghosts are pushed back. So Amaru and Cove, as immediate frontline fighters, are able to buy you and Naeem some time. And you hear Naeem kind of acting as a shot caller here, saying, "There's something else awry going on here," and his eyes fall on you. You see his robes are beginning to flow, almost as though there's like an invisible breeze lifting him up, and you see him flourish his hand, and multiple talismans, paper prayers, kind of flutter out from between his fingers and hit the foreheads of some of the ghosts that have been battered back. And then those ghosts' eyes kind of roll back up into their heads and they disperse. They like settle down. They've been pieced. They've been calmed by Naeem's prayer papers.
I think Lumièra, right as that is happening, she looks to Naeem. "The trees, they're graves, and they've been disturbed. We have to get them. Let them rest. Look at their faces."
Understood. Yes. I, Amaru, and Cove will keep the ghosts at bay. Lumièra, can you be the one to lead them to rest?
Absolutely.
Trust in her will.
In her will we trust. And Lumièra will run headfirst, darting directly towards where the rest of, as I'm assuming that Naeem is throwing more prayer papers, and I think Lumièra's eyes are watching each one as it arcs through the air, hits that one in the forehead, and walks and kind of like urges them, guides them back to
the grave.
To the grave that they're coming from.
I love that. Amaru and Cove are providing cover for you, basically, and they're kind of following you in your steps. Cove as like a melee fighter, as your almost like your retainer or your guard, like covering your dead angles to make sure that ghosts don't lunge out of the shadows and grab you. And Amaru is kind of providing cover at a distance, like throwing his lance and then recalling it, like these big explosions around you, kicking up soil and earth. And you collect these prayer papers, which, even though Naeem has temporarily banished their rage, you can feel it brimming still in the paper. They've been trapped inside the sutras. So you have to release their spirits, release their souls back into the graves, and kind of undo the harm that has been done. So you're able to re-smooth the earth over, right? For parts of stripped bark, how do you heal that?
I think for the parts of stripped bark, Lumièra ends up making like almost like a poultice, like we saw her carry in the wild sea of dirt and mud and grass and probably some type of blessed or distilled water, something along the lines of that she carries on her in her utility belt, and kind of just starts smearing it almost like moss across the affected trees of like where they're missing their bark at, still being respectful of the graves, but also using some of the dirt that's left over from the graves in the poultice as well to try to bind their soul with that tree and heal them both.
I love it. You're able to do it, and you kind of patch up the wounds and the injuries that have been wrought upon these graves. You don't restore the graves to exactly how they were before, but you do heal them, right? There's going to be scar tissue, but at least it's scarred over, right? It's healed. There's a degree of medicine and cultivation and care that you're putting upon these grave sites. And with this intense, very well coordinated teamwork between Strike Team Phoenix, the last of the ghosts is put back to rest. And as soon as that final paper talisman kind of flutters into place in front of that stone grave at the base of a root, there's like a kind of ding, 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 ding noise resonating all over. And then a sense of vertigo as the cliff face kind of descends back to level ground, almost like you're in a very rapidly descending elevator. Everything evens out, right? The trees disappear in big sparkles of pixelated sunlight and color. And then you're back in the simulation hall. You are covered in sweat, right? Amaru and Cove are heaving. There's still kind of like, you see the last bits of grave dirt plastered onto your hands flake off like dust and just flutter away. And Naeem steps forward, right, as Cove and Amaru kind of bump chests in like a really bro-y way, but like an excited way. They're like, yeah, we did it. They're punching the air, they're hugging each other. Naeem comes up to you with a big, proud smile on his face and says, well done. That was some sharp insight.
I appreciate that, Naeem. Like Hannah Lucy said, just excellence.
That's right. Just excellence. It's not even what she expects from us, but what we can expect from each other. That's what it means to be a part of one of her strike teams.
I am proud to be here.
And we're proud to have you. And Cove and Amaru stop celebrating with each other, right? And they're very like, yeah, melee fighter way. And they turn and face you and Naeem, and Cove comes up to you and slings that arm around your shoulder and kind of brings you in close and goes, we did it, look at that, smashing success.
Absolutely. And Lumièra kind of shrugs out of it a bit. No shade, but you're all sweaty. We're all sweaty.
Right. Sorry. Whew. And I think amidst the celebration, there is a sense of deep accomplishment. You did it. You like knocked your first ever simulation mission as a full-fledged agent out of the park. You have embodied excellence. And the swell of pride that comes up, just like in the very beginning during your graduation ceremony, a memory is dredged up with it. And as you're being celebrated amongst your brand new strike team, you see you don't see anything in this memory. I think it's an emotional one. A different kind of pride and affection and community and belonging and love swells up inside of you, and you smell a flower, a plant, some kind of vegetation you've never quite smelled before. You hear water lapping at the edges of fertile soil. You hear laughter, familiar echoing laughter from family. That's right, family, and they're right behind you. If you just turn your head, you'll see them. Do you turn?
She whips her head around so fast.
And you see, at the far end of the arena, a glitching, as though caught in static, darkened silhouette. It's not quite here, it's not quite there, it just is like a ghost trapped in a radio signal. And not the family you were expecting, something rather ominous, maybe? Watching. Whatever this thing is, it's watching, and it is familiar to you. It's been here for as long as you can remember. That ghost in the back of your mind. The Drifter.
I think at this point, this is probably where she starts deeming them the Drifter. This is where she names them the Drifter. Because her first initial thought was the Angel? Which is what she called them when she was young. It's the only thing that she really remembers prior to being at trans, anything beforehand. So as it glitches, I think it starts to drift along. And that's where she's just like, Drifter.
And then you hear Amaru from beside you as Cove and Naeem are happily chatting away. What was that?
Oh, my apologies.
And the Drifter's gone. Right? And the strange ghostly memories are gone as well, and you're fully back in the present.
Sorry. I'm not used I thought I saw some residuals. There was nothing.
Oh, sure. I mean, the simulation arena is massive. Because you're a brand new agent, if you ever wanted, someone to give you a tour of everything these training halls can offer, I'd be more than happy to show you the ropes.
And Lumièra smirks because she's caught on now. So she kind of steps around in a way that puts some space between the rest of the team and just her. If you just want to ask me out, just do it.
And Amaru raises your eyebrows, caught off guard by your forwardness. But then the eyebrows come back down and a smile comes across his face. Ah, maybe after we see what Chosen One over there wants.
And Lumièra smiles genuinely and laughs, not in like a put-offish way, but she just looks at Amaru. She just looks at Amaru and it's like, we are just friends, nothing more.
Oh, well, maybe you'd want to tell your friend that. Looks like she's got a lot of congratulations that she wants to give you. And his eyes push to right behind you, where you see Sing at the doors of the training hall. You don't know how long she's been there, probably not very long, but she's definitely there, and she looks excited, like she didn't want to interrupt your training moment with your brand new strike team, but as soon as you turn around, she lets out like a big smile and is waving at you. Hey, Lumièra,
Sing.
do you have a minute?
Yeah, I'll be right back, Amaru.
Take your time.
And Lumièra will turn and dart over to where Sing is. Looking past, when she sees her, just happy, but also looking like kind of behind her and around to see if Sayir is also there with her.
He's not. It's just Sing.
She's still just as happy and gives Sing a really big hug. It was... Sing, you're gonna love it once you get assigned. That simulation was so cool. It was like we went in there and then the ground, it was like, and like it shot up into the air and it was all types of ghosts. And then like Naeem was throwing like prayer papers and was like smacking ghosts in the forehead. And then the ghosts were going into the trees and they were graves. And then like Cove and Amaru were like coming in, and Cove had like this lance of gold. He was just glittering everywhere and just bright and just and she kind of gets caught up in her description of Amaru for a second, but gets right back into just like describing in the most animated fashion
the play-by-play of all the cool stuff you just did. And Sing is completely enraptured, completely enamored, her bright pink eyes looking at you, hanging on to every single word. And then what? And then what? Like egging you on, right?
Just going full out into it.
And I think in the midst of you recounting this story of your simulation training that you just did, we pan to Sing's face, that like enraptured look, those big pink eyes. And then when we pan out, we see that Sing has the same kind of expression on, deep curiosity, deep interest, deep enrapturement, but is much younger, is only about 7 years old, maybe verging on 8, and she's peering through like a crack in a door in the therapeutics and recovery ward. And she's peering at you, Lumièra, you recent disciple, you newly included child as part of the Syndicate, and you're kind of like, this is right after you've gotten your medical checkup, after you arrived at Trans. You've been instructed to have like a little bit of bed rest to recover from the shock of, well, where you just came from. And you haven't seen any other children at the Syndicate yet. It's just been the hands and a lot of whispered conversations just out of earshot. And you're by yourself here. You see that sliver of an open door and you see that young face peeking in. And then she kind of like hides and you don't see her anymore.
I think Lumièra kind of scooches under the blanket a bit more and tries to kind of like turn away from the door. She doesn't really want to talk to anyone. So she's trying to like hide herself or act like she's asleep.
And in the hallway outside of your room, we see Sing like shrink away and then appear again, right? Seeing your back, right? Turn to the door, and her expression falls a little. And then she's lets out a small sigh, and she turns and starts to walk down the hall, but bumps right into Artemis, the patron saint of mortals who had crept up behind this young chosen one without her even noticing. She kind of like lets out a hand. I'm sorry, I know I shouldn't be out of bed right now, but... And Artemis looks down with a knowing look, and then looks again at the slit in the door, and kind of like gives like an encouraging, like, well, you better finish what you started kind of expression. Right, okay. Don't tell Zaire. And Sing turns and kind of like nudges herself into the room and starts approaching you, just her, with Artemis just outside, waiting in the hall, just in case. And you hear a voice from behind you. Hi.
Hi.
I'm Sing. What's your name?
Lumièra.
Lumièra. Do you like flowers?
I do like flowers.
I have one that smells really good and looks really pretty. Do you want to take a look?
What color is it?
It's pink. It's my favorite color.
I like purple.
Oh!
Pink is cool too.
I like purple too. But the one I have is pink. I hope you don't mind.
That's fine. Thank you.
And this young person, Sing, you hear them go up to kind of your bedside table and lay something on top of it. They say, well, bye, I guess. See you around.
Okay. Thank you for the flower and for coming. I didn't
You're welcome.
know there was anyone else here.
Yeah, there's tons of people, and well, Hand Artemis said not to overwhelm you or say too many things, but there's lots of new friends here who'd love to meet you when you're ready, including me.
Okay. I think I'm gonna lay down now.
Okay, sounds good. Nice to meet you. See you around.
Bye, Sing.
Bye, Lumièra. And you hear little footsteps, better, back to the door, and then the door, like, ease shut gently.
And I think Lumièra kind of curls further back into her covers, but does grab the flower and smell it before kind of like putting it in her hair and then going to sleep.
I love that. And it is, of course, a cherry blossom that you tuck into your hair and you lie down. And as your tiny head hits the soft fluff of the pillow, we kind of come back to the present day here, right? With you finishing your tale to an enraptured Sing. And she comes forward and just hugs you. And like squeezes you tight against her, but like not so tight that it hurts, but like a good hug. Sing gives really good hugs. I'm so proud of you, Lumi. And they let go of you and look at you. This is everything you've ever wanted. This is everything I want for you. And you're gonna be amazing because you already are.
That means the world coming from you, Sing. Our chosen one.
Oh, please. Don't even get started on that anymore here. But listen, you've got to promise me something. And they hold their hands forward and they like grasp your fingers in theirs. Can you promise me that until I become an agent too, you'll tell me everything about what it's like?
I already tell you everything. Why would I not?
I don't know, because you're a cool agent now, and I'm just still a disciple. And
You're gonna be a cool agent too. You're literally fate's chosen.
I know.
You are quite
God,
literally destined to do great things.
I know. I guess I know, but hey, you know what? So are you. So I want to be the first to hear about it from you every time.
Damn right. But this doesn't stop. Even when you become an agent, we still make sure we tell each other everything. Deal?
Deal. And Sing holds out a hand, like the hands had held out a hand during the graduation ceremony to you.
Yeah.
And your fingers lace together and you shake. And I think we're gonna end the backstory session there.
God damn it.